Welcome to a new English learning story. What if the world stood at the edge of a war so powerful that it could shape the future of entire nations? A war that tests not just armies, but the courage, unity, and strength of everyday people. In this special 5-part journey, we explore a dramatic time when tensions between two South Asian countries, Pakistan and India, grow stronger. We will witness how a storm of conflict begins, how battles are fought, and how heroes rise from both sides. This is more than just a story about war. It's about the human spirit, about standing tall when the world shakes. Part 1. A storm begins. Have you ever imagined what could happen if two powerful nations were pushed to their limits? What if deep old wounds turned into flames of war? Pakistan and India have shared a long history, sometimes filled with conflict, but also moments of understanding. But in the year 2025, something changes. Peace starts to slip away. A storm begins to form, one that no one can ignore. As the year ends, a strange tension fills the air. Streets in both countries feel different. People talk in whispers. Everyone feels something big is coming. Years of mistrust, border issues, and political clashes have reached a breaking point. This isn't just another fight, this is the fight. A moment that will echo in history forever. The fear is real, not just for leaders or soldiers, but for the people. Farmers, students, workers, and families all feel the pressure. Lives may change overnight, but from this tension, something powerful begins to rise. In both countries, a deep strength awakens, strength born from history, from hardship, and from the will to protect. For Pakistan, it is a moment of unity. Its people, known for their bravery and resilience, come together like never before. Every soldier prepares with heart and honor. They know this isn't just a war, it's a duty. The people are ready to protect their land, their values, and their future. And across the border, India stands tall too. With a rich culture and proud legacy, its forces prepare to defend their country with equal strength and courage. Part 2. When tension turns to action. India, a country known for its ancient traditions, had also become a modern military force. With some of the strongest defenses in the region, its army was ready. Soldiers had faced battles before, and now they stood prepared once again. But this wasn't just about weapons or strength. It was about pride, unity, and survival. The people of India, though unsure of what the future held, stood firmly behind their leaders. 1 billion hearts beat with one hope, that they would stay strong, stay united, and come out victorious. Still, both nations, India and Pakistan, stood in silence. A silence so loud it felt like the world had stopped breathing. Families stayed close, holding hands and whispering prayers. Children asked innocent questions. The elders, who remembered wars from the past, feared what might come next. In quiet meeting rooms, leaders made choices that could change everything. Every word they spoke, every plan they made, carried the weight of millions of lives. This was not just another argument between two countries. It was a moment that history would never forget. Everyone knew this was no longer a matter of if, but when. Not who had the biggest army, but who had the strongest heart. The air felt thick with fear and courage all at once. Every moment felt like a countdown. But in this deep silence, something powerful began to grow. Not just in soldiers, but in the people. The real heroes. In both Pakistan and India, normal citizens began to prepare. Farmers, students, teachers, shopkeepers, everyone. They knew their land needed them. They were ready to stand for their country, their families, and their future. In Pakistan, the military moved quickly. Special forces prepared for the worst. Streets once calm were now filled with activity. The time for waiting was over. Decisions had been made. The country stood tall, ready for whatever was coming. And across the border, India was no different. Maps were studied, Plans were made, soldiers trained day and night. But they all knew this truth. Real victory would not come from bombs or bullets, it would come from belief. From the hearts of the people. This was no longer just a war between two armies. It had become a battle of spirit. A test of how strong people can be when their world begins to shake. Part 3. The First Strike. The warriors stood shoulder to shoulder, ready to face something bigger than anything they had ever imagined. They knew a great battle was coming, and they were not afraid. But one question floated in the air like a dark storm cloud. Who will strike first? No one had the answer. But deep inside, the world could feel it. A storm was on its way, and when it arrived, everything would change. When war finally begins, only the brave will stand. Only those with true courage will survive the storm. With every passing day, the tension grew stronger. Both India and Pakistan stood on the edge of something no one could fully control. The whole world watched, holding its breath, waiting for that one moment. The moment when peace would shatter. This wasn't just a fight between two nations anymore. This was a test of identity, of purpose, and of how far each side was willing to go to protect their homeland, their families, and their future. Then came the day. The sky lit up with the first light of dawn, but something felt different. The air was heavy, almost frozen in time. People across both nations felt it deep in their hearts. Today would not be like any other day. Then, in the darkness of the early morning, it happened. A sudden, calculated strike, silent, fast, and devastating. It wasn't just an attack. It was a message, a warning. The first bomb exploded with terrifying force. The ground shook, buildings trembled, and the sky lit up like fire. The silence was gone. History had just taken a sharp turn, but Pakistan had been prepared. Within minutes, it struck back with full power. The response was quick, powerful, and fearless. Pakistan had made it clear. This was no country of empty promises. It was a nation of action. Tanks rolled forward, shaking the earth. Fighter jets screamed through the skies like arrows of flame. Their engines roared like thunder, dropping bombs that lit up the battlefield below. There was no going back now. The battlefield was no longer a place for talking. It had become a place where only strength, bravery, and belief could decide the future. Explosions echoed across the land. Once calm fields and villages were now scarred by war. The ground was torn apart by fire and steel. But even in the middle of chaos, there was something powerful, a stillness, a calm that comes from courage. In the heart of battle, both Indian and Pakistani soldiers showed what real bravery means. As dust filled the air and the sound of war surrounded them, their spirits stayed unbroken. This war was different. This wasn't about medals or fame, it was about heart. In the trenches, real heroes were born, not from shiny awards, but from the fire inside them. They weren't fighting for glory. They were fighting for something far deeper. For their land, for their families, and for their honor. The battlefield is no longer just where armies clash. It's where the human spirit is tested. Every soldier who steps forward faces the unknown, and yet they march ahead, driven not by certainty, but by courage. They don't know what the next moment will bring, but they believe that their resolve will carry them through. Each battle, each step, each breath proves something deeper. That true strength isn't about weapons or muscle, it's about heart. It's about the unyielding will to protect what matters: home, family, land. Even when bombs shake the earth and bullets rip through the silence, it's the human spirit that becomes the most powerful weapon. The first strike was not just an attack. It was a declaration, one that said, "You cannot break us. You cannot silence our pride. You cannot crush our spirit." As the war escalates, the battlefield becomes a canvas, painted in blood, sweat, and tears. Every explosion, every decision, every breath adds to the story of warriors who refused to back down. A story that will echo for generations. But in the heart of destruction, something remarkable takes shape. While both sides struggle for land, it becomes clear that the true victory is not measured in kilometers gained or bunkers destroyed. The real triumph lies in the heart of the warrior, the one who keeps fighting when everything says stop, the one who rises when everything else falls. Victory isn't won on maps, it's earned in the hearts of those who refuse to yield. In the chaos, the true strength of a nation is revealed. Not just in its tanks and jets, but in its people. In the soldiers who fight past fear. In the citizens who stand tall despite devastation. Every act of bravery, every moment of resistance is its own kind of victory. Pakistan and India, now locked in brutal conflict, will both suffer unimaginable losses. But it is in these dark hours that heroes are born. Not the kind decorated with medals, but the ones remembered in silence. The ones who looked fear in the face and chose to keep going. These men and women will define the war. Their courage will carve a legacy no weapon can destroy. As the first days of war pass, both sides begin to understand. This isn't just a military campaign. It's not just politics. It's something much deeper. This is about the soul of a nation. And that spirit, that unbreakable spirit, will carry them forward even when the world seems to be falling apart. The first strike has been made, the war has begun. But this is only the beginning. The world watches, breath held tight. The stakes have never been higher. Pakistan and India, both bleeding, both broken in places they may never fully heal. Their warriors fall in droves. Their lands are torn and scorched by the brutality of war. This is not a battle of winners, only survivors. Yet amidst the chaos, the war reaches a turning point. Unexpected alliances begin to form. Subtle, quiet, almost imperceptible at first. Nations not directly involved start choosing sides in shadows, shifting the balance with every whispered deal and every covert supply drop. The world, always watching, knows too well how quickly peace can collapse. But beyond politics and power games, something more powerful emerges. It is not foreign support or military hardware that will shape this war's end. It is the will of the people. The soldiers may fire the weapons, the generals may plan the strategies, but it's the ordinary citizens, those who send their children off to battle, those who bury their dead with trembling hands, who will determine the war's true outcome. This war has proven that history is not written solely by armies. It is etched in the tears and defiance of the people. Victory doesn't always come from crushing the enemy. Sometimes it's about standing tall, refusing to fall, even when everything is breaking. In the war's darkest hours, heroes rise from the most unexpected places. A quiet farmer, rifle in hand, becomes the last line of defense for his village. A schoolteacher, once reserved and soft-spoken, rallies her neighbors, organizing barricades and patrols with a strength no one saw coming. They were not ready for war. But war came anyway, and they rose. Villages become fortresses, each home a bastion of resistance, each family a unit of courage. Cities once filled with laughter and color are now scarred but unbroken. Within them live warriors, young and old, fighting not just for land but for identity. With every explosion, every loss, something fierce begins to grow in their hearts: defiance. The very wind seems to whisper a vow: we will not surrender. As the days bleed into months, it becomes clear that this war will not be decided by tanks or jets alone. The real battle is fought in the hearts of the people. Every life lost is a wound felt by the nation. Every small victory, a lifeline of hope. Stories of heroism flow from the front lines like lifeblood, keeping spirits alive. Tales of impossible bravery and heartbreaking sacrifice become the glue that binds a fractured country together. Both nations, despite the toll, grow harder, stronger. Pakistan, though battered, is not broken. From the mountains of the north to the deserts of the south, the people begin to move as one, no longer fragmented by background or belief. Now they are one nation, one force, one soul. They have lost too much to turn back, too much to surrender, too much to forget. And across the border, India, too, becomes more relentless. Refined ending, continuation and conclusion. Every attack, every defense echoes far beyond the battlefield. Cities tremble, mountains witness, and the skies burn with the fire of a million hopes and fears. But through the destruction, one thing becomes clear. This war is no longer just about two nations. It is a reckoning, a mirror held up to humanity, reflecting both its darkest shadows and its brightest lights. In the face of annihilation, unity becomes their salvation. Pakistan and India, though bitter rivals, begin to understand something profound. That survival in such a world demands more than courage. It demands compassion. The shared pain, the mutual losses, the haunting cries of families on both sides, they weave a tapestry of tragedy too familiar to be ignored. And perhaps in that final hour, as the last shots are fired and silence begins to fall, something changes. Not just the landscape, but the people. The war may have scarred them, but it also taught them about strength, sacrifice, and the true cost of division. When the smoke clears and the dawn rises over a shattered but breathing land, the question is no longer who won, but what have we learned? Because the true victory lies not in borders drawn or enemies defeated, but in the realization that peace, fragile, precious, and hard-won, is the only future worth fighting for. The world watched, and now the world must remember. Dreams, and by the hope that tomorrow can be different from yesterday. This is not a story of winners or losers. This is a story of awakening. In the ashes of what once seemed like an endless conflict, a spark of humanity has ignited something far more powerful than any weapon understanding. For the first time in generations, leaders are not just speaking across negotiation tables, but listening. Citizens are not just demanding peace, they're building it, brick by brick, voice by voice. Where tanks once rolled, now children play. Where sirens once screamed, now there is silence, peaceful, not fearful. And in that silence, the nations hear the soft but steady rhythm of something new. Unity. The lessons have been written in blood and sacrifice, but they need not be repeated. The pages of this new chapter are blank, ready to be filled not with the headlines of war, but the verses of progress, empathy, and courage. This is not just the aftermath, this is the rebirth of two peoples, of two nations, of a shared humanity that proves, even after the darkest nights, the sun will rise again.